Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Mongoli Show. Today, we're taking a look at Inferis Dead Below. This is the first game from Hermoria Studios, and whether or not it's worth your time or something you should skip altogether, let's jump right into it. Inferis Dead Below is the first game from Hermoria Studios, which is an offshoot of Perspective Studios. It looks like Perspective Studios and Hermoria Studios are along the same path. They're both making like $5, 1 hour long psychological horror games. So I'm not entirely sure why they decided to split, but it seems like the split was fairly amicable if you trust Twitter or X, where the companies are still shouting each other out and advertising for each other, which is nice to see. I don't know behind the scenes. I couldn't find out too much information on Hermoria or Perspective Studios, so we'll just have to go with that. But at least it seems like it was an amicable split if that's what happened. I mentioned the game is about an hour long. It is only about $5 Canadian, so it's a pretty cheap little game, and it came out right before Halloween, so I was in the mood for like an indie horror kind of an experience. So this one was a pretty quick buy for me. However, this was on my wish list, and it's been on my wish list for a while, but I don't remember putting it there. I'm not sure how this one even got on my radar, to be perfectly honest. I have to assume it's because I enjoyed, or at very least played, other games like Supernormal, Supernatural, Don't Scream, like other small indie horror games, but I couldn't actually tell you when or why this one ended up on my wish list. But when I got the notification that it was available, I did buy it kind of without doing my research. After looking into it, you can see that the game does advertise itself as being a walking simulator style game. So that was my first like, uh-oh, maybe this was a mistake, but we played it anyways on stream, twitch.tv/The Mongoli Show. Go give it a follow. And I still got about an hour out of this game. Now, if I hadn't been streaming it and it hadn't crashed, probably be about 40 minutes. But, you know, talking to audience and whatnot did extend it a little bit. I will point out when I say it crashed, the power went out in my building. So unfortunately, I lost that. And then when I booted it back up, then it crashed. So I'm not entirely sure if it was the game's fault or my computer's fault or what was going on there. But after that one crash and the power outage, totally not its fault, the game performed perfectly all the way through, or at least as well as this game could perform. I will say we are going to spoil this game a little bit. I won't go super in depth in any story-based things, but if you don't want to know anything about this game, you can skip right to the very end where I'll give you the score, but no spoilers at that point. The game takes place in the sewers beneath a city where you are a reporter or a journalist looking into the situation of missing people. You start off in the sewers and you work your way into what I assume is a psychiatric hospital, or at least a hospital of some kind, and from there you make your way into the caves. The game, as I mentioned, is fairly short. I'm sure you could do it even faster than I did, but even at the play that I did, I was able to get all of the achievements in one go, meaning that a second playthrough, other than for editing purposes, is entirely unnecessary, and this experience is going to last you about 1 hour total. The game does feature some creepy moments and some pretty decent music, actually, where you will see things that will make your skin crawl a little bit, or at least I got a couple of, not jump scares per se, but at least a couple of chilled, creepy moments, and that was actually well appreciated. Unfortunately, I have the same complaint with this game that I have with the game Don't Scream, where once you realize that you can't be hurt, the enemies cannot touch you, it really limits how scared you're going to be because you're invincible essentially. Now, that's not to say that watching a ghost cross the room or watching one of the monsters in the room isn't still a little bit creepy, but that's as far as it's going to go. You're not going to get a ton of jump scares out of this game once you realize, oh, I can't possibly be hurt. And that really hurt this game for me, in the same way that I basically just stopped playing Don't Scream instantly once I figured that out. I mentioned the music in this, and honestly, the music is pretty decent, but a huge problem with it is as soon as you leave one room for another, or at very least one environment for another, there's no like fade out and fade back in. It is a hard stop, hard stop, hard start. And that is really jarring. And in a game like this, where you want to immerse yourself as much as possible, that really takes you out. I spent money on it. He charged me money. That, see how quickly that music changed? That's problematic. Because that, again, it just instantly takes you out. It stopped me dead in my tracks talking about something else. Now, I know that I played an early version of this game. Maybe they're still working on it behind the scenes, but that would be like my number one thing to say to you guys. If you're still working on this game, fade the music a little bit. Like, don't make it so incredibly jarring when I go into a stairwell and it's like it stops and it starts. If I can find a clip for you, I will, so you can see what I'm talking about. But it is take you out of the game instantly jarring, and it's really unfortunate. The other thing that I found really unfortunate with this game is I mentioned the creepy monsters, and that's cool, and they can't hurt you. But the other thing is, if they get close to you, the screen just goes black. It's like they didn't have any animations for the monsters attacking you, and they didn't really want to do that. So instead, the screen just fades to black. And I'm not saying that you die. It's not like you start again, you're like, oh, you died and something happened. No, the game just goes black. And then you hear like a ah in the background, and then it comes back, and that's it. Now, later on in the game, you do start getting attacked by these monsters, but in a story-based way, so it's not like you're going to die. Like, you cannot die in this game, as far as I can tell. I even tried a couple of times. So there's no fear of that, which is also to its detriment. But then you don't even get any cool animations for anything, because as soon as a monster comes close, black screen. Again, in a game that's supposed to immerse you, it was incredibly jarring and took me out every single time, to the point where I was laughing at it by the time the game was coming close to an end. There's no voice acting in this game, so I was reading out the lines to my audience, which is fine, because realistically, if you have bad voice acting, that can actually be worse. But then they made the choice of having a voice actor at the end of the game, which was a little bit weird to me, because like maybe the thought process is like how in Zelda games they never let your character talk, because they want you to be saying like, oh, well, I'm gonna fill in my head. If that was the case, sure, I think you missed the mark, but I understand what you were going for. But it was just really weird to me that there was no voice acting until a certain point, and then all of a sudden there was voice acting. Again, I understand that it's supposed to be like you're talking in your own head versus that, but if that's the case and you're talking in your own head, the dialogue is really, really stiff. For being in your own head, I don't know, that's not what I sound like in my own head. It is just really, really jarring, unfortunately. The writing could have been a little bit stronger on this one. You do find notes around the place, and that makes sense to not have those voice acted, because again, like you're reading a piece of paper. I get it. But it's a little unfortunate. There was one note that I read where it's like, be really quiet. These things can hear you and they'll hunt you down. And I started screaming just on the off chance that the mic was turned on, like it is in some games like Don't Scream or Supernatural. Know this: your only chance of survival is silence. Silence, or it will hear you. Hello? Are you there? Nothing bad happens to me. I tried running around, seeing if I could make noise on purpose. No monster came after me that wasn't already. It was just an unfortunate experience where the game is telling you, like, hey, be really quiet, and you can ignore it entirely, and nothing bad happens to you. The game allows you to pick certain things up, so you can open up doorways and stuff like that. But there's the menu, like if I remember correctly, I don't have it in front of me, but the game says something like a key was added to your inventory. You don't have an inventory. As far as I could tell, there was no way of opening an inventory and looking at what you had. There was no way of interacting with them other than the very basic, this key opens this doorway. There's no puzzles in this game whatsoever. Again, it's a walking simulator, so you were literally just going up, opening door, moving on to the next area, opening door. It's super linear. Like, you couldn't possibly get lost. You couldn't possibly get stuck behind a puzzle. If you just wanted to experience a game for 40 minutes, sure. It's just not, it didn't give me any of what I was looking for in a good enough way to justify its existence. Wow, that sounded really harsh, but it doesn't make it not true. The reviews for this game on Steam are currently positive, and the reviews for all the games from Perspective are all positive to very positive. So if this is a strategy that's working for them and people are enjoying it, I can't take anything away from them. Unfortunately, this was just absolutely not for me, and I don't see myself checking out any of their future projects unless I hear something drastic has changed. If this is the formula they're going with, hour-long psychological horror games for $5, and they've got an audience for it, great. More power to them. It's just not for me, and it's not something that I can recommend, unfortunately. The pros, there were some creepy moments, the music is pretty decent, and the ending was kind of cool. But unfortunately, the cons are everything in this game takes you out of this game, and for a game where you want to have an experience, constantly being taken out of it, whether it's from the black screen, the really harsh sound changes, or the fact that the enemies do nothing to you, just really hampered my experience on this one. And unfortunately, I'm gonna have to give it an incredibly low score. This is gonna be like a 2.5 for me. There's just nothing here for me, and I'm not gonna try and return it and get my $5 back. I got a review out of it. I got to stream it. That's fine for me. But for people out there, I just can't recommend it to you, unfortunately. So save your $5. All right, that's my review of Inferis Dead Below. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button so you see more great content like this. We review horror and Metroidvania games on this channel, although generally not horror Metroidvanias, although that'd be cool. I would play that for sure. So make sure you hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more of those. Let me know down in the comments below if I was way too harsh on this game, or if you really enjoyed this game or other games from Perspective Studios. And follow me over at twitch.tv/The Show if you want to hang out with me live while we stream games like this and others. I'd love to see you over there. I'd love to see you here. So until next time, I don't know. I got nothing. Bye.